This is great. Humans are a blight on the planet. This is so fun. Welcome, stranger, to Madame Strangeways, where I, Madame Strangeways, narrate your true strange stories of the unexplained. Are you a skeptic or a believer or something in between? You're perfect either way. Stick around after the story where I share my strange thoughts and research on strange folklore, urban legends, and history, and along the way, I'll drag you down a slew of strange rabbit holes, kicking and screaming if needs must. Before we get to today's true strange story, though, the strangest of shoutouts to my Patreon patrons. TJ Hodder of the Tapes of Trepidation podcast, Gmanmusic, Ted, Keith, and Tori. Thank you so much to my Feral Fiendish Five for supporting the show. Oh, did you hear that? I think it's about to rain hellcats and hellhounds outside. So you know what that means. On to our true strange story, here on Madame Strangeways. Terrifying, Unexplainable House Shaking by DC. This is one of the strangest and most unsettling things I've ever experienced. And after over a decade, I still don't have an explanation. I've told friends, family, even therapists. No one can explain it, but everyone agrees it's bizarre. About 13 years ago, I had just moved into a new-to-me house. It was a nice, clean, 2-story suburban home, looked totally normal, no red flags. I thought it would be my forever home. The house was about 15 years old. One evening, I was giving my young daughter a bath. She was maybe 2 or 3 years old, and out of nowhere, there was this massive bang in the house. Not just a noise, it felt like the entire house shuddered, like an earthquake. It was so intense I could physically feel it. It scared me more than anything I've ever experienced. I didn't think, I just reacted. I grabbed my soaking wet toddler out of the tub and didn't even dress her, grabbed the dog, and ran out the front door. I threw them in the car and drove straight to a nearby Walgreens a mile down the road. That's how scared I was. I called my husband and told him that he needed to come home from work immediately. Something had happened. I've never done that before or since. I didn't return until he came home and checked everything inside and out and found nothing. No damage, no broken pipes, no roof debris, no cracked drywall, nothing on the foundation. And no neighbors mentioned anything. He ended up chalking it up to me being jumpy and overreacting. I told my therapist about it, and she said maybe a cougar or something jumped on the roof. But it didn't feel like that. This wasn't an animal sound. It felt structural, like something hit the entire house. Years passed. I still thought about it from time to time, but there was never a good explanation. No follow-up issues with the house, nothing weird. Until 5 years later, when my husband experienced the exact same thing. I wasn't home. He said there was a huge bang that shook the whole house so hard he fell out of his chair. My husband is 250 pounds. He ran outside expecting to see a tree branch or a car crash or something. Nothing. Everything was normal. Neighbors were just doing yard work again. He even asked my next-door neighbors at one point, who we were really friendly with. They said they didn't see or feel anything. We became scared to talk about it in the house, like maybe something was listening. But we'd discuss it when we were out to dinner or etc. It actually happened at least one more time when we were both home. Same deal. No damage, no explanation. Just the most intense physical jolt you can imagine, like something hit the house with full force from the inside, but left no trace. We had the house inspected before we bought it, and it was in great condition. No foundation issues, no settling, no visible signs of structural problems, ever. No cracks in the walls, no shifting floors, nothing. We thought maybe it was a sinkhole or an underground shift, but we could never find any evidence. And again, it wasn't ongoing, just a few very specific, identical incidents over 11 years. For context, this home is in an area with no real known seismic activity. There had been mines in the city at some point in the distant history, so I actually went to the library and looked up the old mining maps. This neighborhood did not have any known mines. Eventually, I realized that as much as I wanted that to be my forever home, I could never fully feel safe there again. Something deep inside me knew I wouldn't be able to stay forever. That house scared me. So we sold it about 3 years ago and moved. I've never felt anything like it in any house before or since. And I still think about it. Not because I want answers. I've kind of accepted I'll never get any. But because I want to know if anyone else has ever experienced something like this. I've never been afraid like that. DC, thank you so much for allowing me to read your story on the show. No, I have never experienced anything like that. And I am so grateful that I have never experienced anything like that. That sounded terrifying. So terrifying. I'm sorry that you had to experience it. I'm sorry you had to leave what you had wanted to be your forever home. Absolutely sucks. But you know what? Here's what I couldn't stop thinking about was thank God your husband experienced it. You know, it's like, God, I mean, it's not like I wish it had never happened again. But if it's going to continue to happen, it needed to happen where he witnessed it, especially like alone, to have that experience that you had. You know, it's like when something's going wrong on your computer and you're like, hey, IT, can you come help? And they come over and it's working totally normal and you look crazy and dumb. But no, it happens. It just doesn't happen constantly. So I am glad at least that you were vindicated. I mean, is that the silver lining to this story, to this terrifying story? Thank you so much for allowing me to read it. And DC also gave me some info in our DMs. And so I'm going to read this first message that she sent me. She said, for some additional context, I absolutely consider myself a skeptic. I am not one to believe anything out of the ordinary. I live a normal, mundane life as a suburban mother and have never experienced anything remotely like this. The first time it happened, I tried to blow it off and ultimately did over the years. But after my husband experienced the same thing, there was no explaining it away. The shaking physically removed him from his office chair onto the floor. We have talked and researched and explained to friends and family and never had any reasonable suggestions that we haven't already considered come up. There's no plausible explanation. Additionally, there were other oddities about the home. And this is why I wanted to share this with you. So listen up. This is the good part. There were additional, where were we? We were other oddities about the home. Our dog at the time refused to go upstairs. We thought it was the physical stairs, but we would take her up and she would shake and urinate until we'd take her back downstairs. We stopped talking about the house while we were there because it felt like it would get worse when we would. When I told my husband about this post, he reiterated that same feeling. After the shaking, we'd be scared and uneasy for days. We even stayed elsewhere for a few days once. It didn't feel normal. I could go on. But truly, the shaking terrified me. I am not a nervous person or easily shaken. I'm going to pause because I'm going to tell you right now, you're a little easily shaken because your house was shaking. Because your house was shaking. You see? You see what I'm... Okay. Or easily shaken, except in the case when my house is shaking. I'm just going to add that for you. I really did plan on living there forever, but I felt unsafe. When we sold the home, there was another inspection completed by the new buyers, verifying the structural integrity of the home. I'm glad we moved, and I've experienced nothing since then, fortunately. Unfortunately, not unfortunately. She also went on to say that we'd love to understand, like what happened. So of course, I want to talk about it. I want to understand what happened too. I mean, I think we need to be honest up front. It's unlikely we will ever know what actually happened. But we're going to talk about it anyway. And we're going to see maybe if we can come up with some theories. Maybe not new theories, but okay, you'll see. You'll see. So obviously what I like to do is it's either a paranormal point of view or a mundane point of view. Like, what are some explanations through both of those lenses? From a paranormal point of view, and I'm going to move quickly through these because I've got a lot of mundane explanations that I really want to talk about. So the paranormal explanations, I mean, I think if I was Ed or Lorraine Warren, or if I was one of their ilk, I would probably say it's a demon. I would probably say it's a poltergeist. I would probably say you need some holy water and you need a priest and you need an exorcism and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. I mean, sure. My stance on the show is that I personally don't believe that demons and poltergeists and et cetera, if they exist, I don't think they can hurt you. So would they be able to shake a house? I don't know. I don't buy it. What's the point? That's all they do? I don't know. You know what I mean? So sure, it could be a poltergeist. There could be some sort of local folklore. I don't know where the house is exactly, and I didn't want to potentially dox DC. And I don't know. It was 13 years ago, so I don't know where DC lived 13 years ago. Is that my bad for not asking? Yes, but here we are. So there could be some local folklore to explain, this is something that's known in the area, or, there's a legend of a house that shakes. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's UFO related. Maybe it's some sort of alien encounter. Like, I mean, just from my knowledge of X-Files, whenever the aliens show up in X-Files for Fox Mulder's sister, and then eventually Scully, spoiler alert, whenever that happens, the house always shakes, but there's always a really bright light. So I think there are some people that could argue that maybe this is an alien event. Maybe this is, maybe you were being abducted, or I don't know. Could be, or I don't know, ley lines, geomagnetic something. There's something here, just, kind of also just, again, it kind of depends on the location of the house. But so sure, there's some of those explanations, but I have found the more mundane explanations to be much more fascinating than the paranormal ones in this case. So because DC specifically said we'd love to understand, I am here. I don't know if this will actually explain anything, but I am happy to jump in. So number one, and I think this was something that somebody in the thread actually suggested, explosive gas buildup. Oh, it was because someone actually linked to another Reddit post where someone was saying that they had this house shaking event happen to them when they were a teenager, and I think they were home alone, and the whole house shook and they were terrified and they ran outside, panicked, had their parents come home early from wherever they were, and then it turns out that there had been a gas pipe underneath the house, and so there was this huge level of gas buildup that resulted specifically in their bedroom shaking from the explosion. It didn't even impact the entire house. It was directly under their bedroom. I mean, so I was like, okay, I want to know more. I want to understand more, because I'm like, that sounds, that sounds plausible to me, and why it wouldn't affect other houses nearby. But here we go. And now I'm not an explosive gas buildup expert. but we're gonna try. So explosive. Okay. Okay, great. For explosive gas buildup, fires and explosions associated with anaerobic digesters and methane storage systems. I am so in over my head here. I'm going to start this over. Fires and explosions associated with anaerobic digesters and methane storage systems are more common than people realize, mostly because of widespread underreporting. This is especially true in near-miss situations where there is no human injury or death. So if we assume that there was an explosive gas buildup beneath that house specifically, whether it's like a gas pipe, I don't know how long, I don't know. I'm not a city planner. I don't know how this works. I'm just saying there's a possibility that there's some sort of pipe or some sort of chamber system. I don't know, but I feel like it's a possibility that, especially because it didn't happen often, right? So maybe it happened just often enough that the pressure built up and then there was an explosion. I'm kind of picturing it like if you've ever seen in person or just like on a video, obviously, a manhole fly off the ground, like into the air, and maybe there's like a flame with it. I feel like that's what's happening because apparently this is something that happens at wastewater facilities all the time. All the time because it's underreported. And when something's underreported, there's just no telling how often it happens. So it could be a lot more common than we realize. Probably definitely is. So I feel like this is a strong contender, but I don't know what was happening beneath the house. I also don't know if you could definitely for sure know everything that's beneath your house. I don't know. Can you? Is that something you can do? Email me, madamestrangeways@gmail.com. How would you even look into that? How would I find out everything that's beneath my home? Now I'm curious. Now I want to know what's under my home. I hope this doesn't happen to me. Okay, so there's one theory, which I don't hate. I like it, actually. I would go so far as to say I like it. But it's funny because in that discussion, we were discussing wastewater, right? Wastewater facilities. So speaking of wastewater, here we go. We'll get there. Okay, it's not. You'll listen. Trust me. Trust the process. So I know that DC said that there is no seismic activity in the area. There is not known seismic activity where this house was. Okay, I understand that. I understand. However, even if an area isn't typically known for seismic activity, like for instance Oklahoma, just as an example, fracking. Okay, actually, I went into this thinking that fracking was causing earthquakes, but I actually had to do a little mini rabbit hole deep dive to understand actually that's not necessarily the case, although it kind of is. It's definitely an indirect cause of fracking, but okay, let me get there. So it's not just fracking, but also the whole cause of earthquakes that are related to fracking is due to wastewater injection. See, I told you, you just got to trust me. Wastewater injection as a result of fracking, but also it's a result of mining or treated wastewater from cities and factories. So I guess it's not just fracking that causes earthquakes. Anyway, so it's wastewater injection. That's what's causing the earthquake in areas where you don't usually find them. And apparently what wastewater injection is basically, okay, I don't want to get into this. Here we go. This is according to the USGS, so the United States Geological Survey. The fluid that is injected at depth is sometimes hydraulically. That shouldn't have been that hard of a word. That's not that difficult of a word. I'm embarrassed. Sometimes hydraulically connected to faults. When this happens, fluid pressures increase within the fault, counteracting the frictional forces on faults. This makes earthquakes more likely to occur on them. An analog to this system is an air hockey table. So when an air hockey table is off, the puck does not move readily. But when the table is on, the puck glides more easily. So raising fluid pressure within a fault is like turning on an air hockey table. Also, you could look at it as lubrication to faults that are not typically moving around. So Just a thought. I don't know if there's any fracking or if there's any wastewater injections that are going on in the place where this house was. However, according to the Seismological Society of America, which is just got to be the most exciting society to have ever existed, they say wastewater injection resulting from oil and gas production in Oklahoma caused a dramatic rise in seismic activity in the state between 2009 and 2015. So just some food for thought. I will say, I think that this is a possibility. I think this is a distinct possibility that there was not seismic activity in this area, but now that there is, depending on the location of the home. So this could be a completely moot point, but we're going to continue, because here's the thing. You may be saying, right, but DC specifically said it was only them that felt the earthquakes. Their neighbors didn't notice anything. Okay, don't worry. I got you. So apparently, come to find, tiny, shallow earthquakes can exist that are below standard detection thresholds. And I know we're all familiar with the Richter scale. Who's Richter? I feel like Richter, I hardly know her. I'm disappointed in myself as well. Anyway, I am not going down a rabbit hole for who is Richter. Why is it named after Richter? I assume Richter is a seismologist, maybe the prominent seismologist. You know, that's probably the case. I think we can move forward with that. Anyway, we all know about the Richter scale, but then there is apparently a different type of intensity scale, and they're Roman numerals, so you know it's fancy. And it starts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes down further, but I only screenshotted down to 5 because you're going to find out that's relevant. Anyway, so there's different intensity scales, and so we're going to get into it in a second. But first, according to the United States Geological Survey, booms have been reported for a long time, and they tend to occur more in the northeastern U.S. and along the East Coast. Of course, most booms that people hear or experience are actually some type of cultural noise, such as some type of explosion, a large vehicle going by, or sometimes a sonic boom. But there have been many reports of booms that cannot be explained by man-made sources. Which that's what really got my attention when I was in my 50th tab on Chrome reading about this. I sat up a little bit straighter, like, okay. So let me just read that again for emphasis. But there have been many reports of booms that cannot be explained by man-made sources. No one knows for sure, but scientists speculate that these booms are probably small, shallow earthquakes that are too small to be recorded, but large enough to be felt by people nearby. So right there, we have a precedent for small, shallow earthquakes that are not in any record and that are just large enough to be felt by people nearby. Now, you may be saying it says people, maybe not just one house. Okay, hold on, because this is when we're getting into the intensity. So the intensity 1, level 1, not felt. People's reaction, not felt. It says people's reaction, and then it tells you a little bit more details. So the people's reaction for a number 1 intensity, not felt. Number 2 intensity, felt by a few. Okay. And then it says for furnishings, delicately suspended objects may swing. Obviously, we know it was a little bit stronger than that. So although we like felt by a few, we don't like the furnishings just swaying gently. Okay. So number 3, felt by several, what does that mean? Again, several? Like several houses, several people in one house, TBD, felt by several, vibration like passing of a truck. It feels like it was a little bit more intense than the passing of a truck, but it does say for furnishings, hanging objects may swing appreciably. Appreciably. That's a word I need to use more in my common vocabulary. So number 4 intensity, IV, because remember these are Roman numerals. I don't want you to get it confused. People's reaction to a number 4, felt by many, sensation like heavy body striking building. I mean, that's what it sounded like, right? Because even the therapist suggested, well, maybe it was a cougar that jumped on the house, which is just such a funny thing. It's not funny that DC asked her therapist. That's not funny. I ask my therapist all manner of things that are not related to my mental health. I mean, this is technically related to mental health, but you get me. I don't at all blame DC for asking. It's just funny that that's like, well, maybe it was a cougar. Like that gives me no comfort whatsoever. That's like the negative amount of comfort. Not even because I think that there's a cougar on the house, but like, oh, so you've got no ideas is what you could just tell me that. You know what? Just tell me you don't know. Just tell me you don't know. Because you don't. Because it's not a cougar. We know that. So furnishings for level 4, it says dishes rattle. And then build environment, it says walls crack, windows rattle. Now, we've discussed there was no destruction of the house. The house was totally fine. It was fine before. It was fine after. So obviously the walls weren't cracking. So you know what I'm feeling? I'm feeling like a 3.5. I'm feeling like Roman numeral 3. How do you do that in Roman numerals? How do you do... It's not like I.V. That's not going to be 3.5. How do you do halves in Roman numerals? Email me, madamestrangeways@gmail.com. Actually, I got to look this up. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. The Roman numeral for half, like 1/2, is semis. And it's an S. I guess I should have said it the other way. It's an S, which stands for semis, which means half, I guess. So you do IIIS. That's what I'm going for, is IIIS on the intensity scale, because obviously the walls didn't crack. However, we did feel like a heavy body striking the building. It was like pretty similar to that, I feel. So I don't know. Tell me what you think. I want to know. We're not done. We've got more, but tell me what you think. madamestrangeways@gmail.com. How likely do you find this theory of localized small shallow earthquakes potentially caused by wastewater injection? I don't know. Let me know. Okay. Now, strangely, this next theory I researched doesn't involve wastewater, but it does involve waste, which now I'm just going to have to start doing more research, because I did not understand that we were just pumping contaminated, gross water directly into the earth. Did you know that? I didn't know that. At my big age, I had no clue that that was happening. I don't know where I thought it was going. It says treated wastewater. I don't know what I thought treated meant. I mean, I didn't think it was, going back into my Brita, but I definitely didn't think it was being injected directly into Mother Earth, which is horrifying. So that's what I'll probably be looking up after I finish this episode, just if you're curious. So anyway, back, more waste. This is great. Humans are a blight on the planet. This is so fun. So, waste, as in a landfill. So, DC, I am so curious if there was a landfill anywhere near the house. I could have totally asked you this before doing the episode. I didn't. So, let me know, madamestrangeways@gmail.com, or you can just slide back into my DMs on Reddit. I'm really curious to know. Also, let me know if you think it was anywhere near. Actually, just tell me where it was. I'll do the research. And I can do a follow-up if we find out an answer. If you want to know, do you want to hear a follow-up? madamestrangeways@gmail.com. All right, so get this. This is from CBS News. It sounded like a jackhammer. This is the headline. It sounded like a jackhammer. Twin Cities homeowner finds violent house shaking linked to landfill. This is promising. I find it promising. So here's the article. After some digging, Carlson found out that did my voice just crack? I'm leaving it in. You know what? I like to be real with you guys. We're going to leave it in. We're going to start over. After some digging, Carlson found out that violent shaking was caused by something that happened at the landfill less than a mile from her house. Never in a million. Oh, what character? What accent do you have if you're from Twin Cities? I actually don't know where that is. Is that in Minnesota? I feel like it is. Well, hold on. Let's check. Okay, I'm back. Yes, it's Minneapolis and St. Paul. Minneapolis and St. Paul in Minnesota. So I am really good at geography, if it's not already very clear to you, obviously. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do an accent because did I kind of just do one just now? I don't know what people in Minnesota sound like. We're just going to, and I'm not, you know what? I'm not going to insult the fine people of Minnesota by doing a Fargo accent, because that's North Dakota. See? I know geography. You might as well call me Madam Geography Ways, Madame Strange Geography. There's something there. Listen, I'm just going to read her quote. She said, Never in a million years would I have thought that anything going on at the landfill would be causing my home to shake, Carlson said. The Burnsville Public Works Director said Carlson was not the only one who called the city. He says the whole thing was caused by a malfunction with the equipment the landfill uses to burn methane, a required step that reduces the landfill's impact on the environment. The company said that the new monitoring and control equipment has been installed and is functioning correctly, which should prevent this type of incident in the future. I'm not sure that it did, but there's not another article about it, so we'll never know. But what do you think? GC, were you near a landfill? Were you near anything that has to do with methane or waste? Let me know. I'm so curious to know. But still, good to know that there's a lot of reasons why a house might shake. However, my pet theory I saved for last. Best for last. This is definitely the strangest of the theories and the most up my alley, which is why I've saved it for dessert. So here is my pet theory from the Associated Press. The headline is, Shaking House Remains... Sorry, let me do my news. What have I been doing? I haven't been doing my news article reader. Reporter. That's the word. I haven't been doing my news reporter voice. From the Associated Press, Shaking House remains a mystery decades later. 68 years later, the story sounds like something out of Poltergeist. I'm not going to do the whole thing like that because there's a lot. But listen, it says no cause could be found for the mysterious phenomenon, which affected no other house on the street. I always interrupt myself with the most important sentences. No cause could be found for the mysterious phenomenon of the house shaking, which affected no other house on the street. That is key. That we're on to something here. Shaking House, a mystery and headache to tenants, read the headline on the front page story in the Worcestershire Telegram. Where is this? Is this Massachusetts? Oh no, it is, because I am obviously, as you know, a pro at geography. Okay, Google, how do you pronounce the city in Massachusetts that is spelled like Worcester? I know there's like a woo or like a wah.
According to Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia, Worcester is a city in the U.S. state
Worcester?
of Massachusetts.
That's wrong. There's no way that's right. Worcester? Worcester? No. Okay, we're going to get back to the story. That just doesn't sound right. Right, so here we go. Shaking House, a mystery and headache to tenants, read the headline on the front page story in the Worcester Telegram on May 13th, 1950. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to make Worcester happen. The family of the house's owner in 1950 offers a more mundane but head-scratching, in its own way, explanation. It's probably not as haunted as you think it is, said Randy Chavor, a retired Worcester Fire Department district chief whose late grandmother, Victoria Chavor, owned the three-family apartment at 14 Douglas Street at the time of the disturbances. From what I was told, he said with a laugh, it's not as exciting as it sounds. Where university engineers were unable to find the cause of the shaking, Chavor family members say a plumber later did, behind the medicine cabinet in the wall of the first floor apartment. Now, if you're like me, I was like, what do you mean they found something in the wall behind the medicine cabinet on the first floor? What do you mean it's in the wall? What's in the wall? According to my cousin, someone put a washing machine motor inside the wall, Chief Chavor said. She's 99% sure, though she doesn't want to get anybody in trouble, that it was the first floor person who wanted to buy the house from our grandmother. There was some type of motor, he evidently put power to it, and it was enough to shake the whole house. It was said among the Chavor family that the man on the first floor wanted to buy the house, and that perhaps is why he was trying to make the place appear haunted by making the house shake to get the price down. I kind of love it. It's clever. It's resourceful. You know, like you got to do what you got to do to get an affordable house. Although here's what I'll say, 1950, y'all didn't need to be doing that. Housing prices, 1950? Girl, we don't need to be doing that. You don't need to be doing all that. You don't need to put a damn washing machine motor inside the wall and turn it on and scare the living crap out of people. Completely unnecessary. You can afford a house in 1950 on nothing, peanuts. I think that's how much a house cost in 1950 is approximately 3 peanuts, maybe 3.5 peanuts. I-S peanuts. That's how much it cost to buy a house. So completely unnecessary, but very clever. Very clever, very mischievous, you might say. So I love that theory. I mean, what are the odds that there was actually a washing machine motor in the wall? Probably slim, but that would be really interesting. Now, there wouldn't really be a reason to put it in the wall unless there was some drama around the house. DC, let me know. Was there drama about the house? Did someone want to get the house from you? Maybe, you know what? Maybe someone put it there for the purpose of making the house seem haunted, and then they didn't come and get it back. Now, then how would it be powered? I don't know. I'm just an ideas person. I don't know. Y'all figure it out. You tell me. How did they make this work? If someone put a motor of some kind in the walls of DC's home that DC wanted to be her forever home, if someone did that, how would they make it work? Let me know, madamestrangeways@gmail.com. So that's my pet theory. That's my favorite theory. Is it the most likely? No. Is it my favorite theory? Yes. And I know that, there's in the Reddit thread, you hear them talk about sonic booms. You hear them talk about, honestly, I can't even remember, but there's some other theories, but I was like, I feel like a sonic boom, other people around are going to hear it. However, I specifically only looked at ideas that could happen and have it where only the person or people in one house could have experienced the shaking. Because, think about it. Even one of the earlier theories, if someone's outside doing their lawn and they're not inside for their house to shake, would they even notice? If it's not something that can even be measured on the Richter scale, would they even notice? I don't know. However, what are the odds that your neighbors are never in their house when something like that happens? Probably slim. So I don't know. You tell me, what theory do you think is the most plausible for this situation? And DC, let me know. Let me know if any of these situations seem like they're plausible for your story. And hopefully I've given you some more food for thought. I know that not having an answer for me is the worst thing. I don't know if you can tell that about me just from the show that I do. I don't like not having answers. I love having answers. I love knowing things. For me personally, the way I was raised, not knowing things is really unsafe for my nervous system personally. So that would drive me nuts, never having an answer for that. So, even if this did not give you answers, I hope one day you do. I hope you do. Because it would drive me nuts. I would take this mystery to my grave, wondering what happened. I can't even imagine how scary that would have been. So DC, again, thank you so much for letting me share your story. And if anyone listening, if you listening, has an unexplained story that you would like to share with me for me to read on the show and to possibly go down a few rabbit holes and research holes, let me know. Email me at madamestrangeways@gmail.com. I can't wait to read it. Remember that you can feel afraid and not be in danger. You're safe here with me. Probably. Thank you for joining me for more true strange stories of the unexplained. Now, I'm running a one madam show here, so please do me a strange solid and follow the podcast, or leave me a rating on Apple or Spotify, and maybe even join the Patreon at patreon.com/madamestrangeways for bonus content. Madame Strangeways is produced and narrated by me, Madame Strangeways. Theme music is by Marina Ryan at marinamakes.co. Cover art is by Andrea Chiselle Roldan at Cult of Teddy on Instagram. Every strange story is shared with the permission of the author. You can submit your own true strange story to madamestrangeways@gmail.com or check out the website madamestrangeways.com. See you soon, she said ominously. S. So you would do 111. Nope. You would do 333. Nope. What is wrong with me?